Hello and welcome to the live stream of CGTN. This afternoon we're at the China National Technology and Science Museum, where all the models of the advanced technologies will be displayed here, and including this model, the Tiangong-1, the space station of China's first space station, as well as the Tianhe, the core module. Joining me this afternoon is our colleague Diana, and also the Mr. Xu Yunsong, the General Director of the Asia Pacific Space Cooperation Organization. Good to see you all.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, welcome to joining us. Well, this.
Yes.
Please.
Hello, I'm Yu Yang. We're so happy to be here today, and it's quite lucky. And although we are taking a look at the model of the core module, but today we have so many things to explore here, and to take a look at how the astronauts are going to live in the space station. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And also, in front of us, there's this model. We can take a look at the details. This model is going to be launched one by one with each pieces. But today, we're going to talk about the main part, the core module. Mr. Xu talked about the core module and pointed it to us, the audiences, where is actually the part in this space station model?
In a week time, we are going to see the Tianhe part, which will be launched. This is the core segment, which is the centerpiece from this spheric shaped ball all the way to this part. It's going to be a 22.5 metric ton structure that will be launched by Long March 5 with a single launch. That also will be followed by a cargo ship launch to fuel the spacecraft, because it has to maintain an altitude of around 400 kilometers with the inclination of 440 degrees. So this requires some fuels to maintain the orbit. And also we're readying ourselves to launch the other part, which is the Shenzhou part.
Wow.
Not exactly that part. First is the manned mission, and we're preparing that also in Jiuquan. So it's busy for 2 launch sites, 3 launch pads, and lots of crew that is involved in this launching campaign.
Well, it's been a very busy period, because we know that besides the core part of the China's first space station, all of these parts are named according to a set of rules. For example, this one is called the Tianhe.
And the two laboratory
so what about these
called
two?
Wentian and Mengtian.
Yes, Wentian and
Why would have that
Mengtian.
kind of names?
I have no idea why they call it, but I'm sure they have lots of meaning in it. Wentian, of course, is to conquer and explore, to explore the outer space, and Xuntian or Mengtian is to dream about
Dreaming
space.
of the heaven, yeah.
So
it's all based on Chinese traditional culture, right?
And also it's dream on the public's considerations of how to use the station, I think, in the future.
Wow.
But I got a question, Yu Yang.
Yes.
So please, perhaps you can translate that 2 names for our audiences. First one is Wentian, and the second one is Mengtian. If we translate that literally, what does it mean?
Well, I guess it's from one kind of poetry from the traditional Chinese culture, and I guess where Qu Yuan, he's quite famous for poets in the history, and I think it's mostly from his piece maybe. But I'm not really good at translation, and I was gonna say because I know the central part is called the harmony of heaven, right?
Yeah, harmony of heaven.
So this part I guess is dreaming of the heaven, or the exploring the heaven, the 2 parts. So that's only my translation, not the official one. So Mr. Xu, my question is, it's said to be the longest part of the core module, as the length is about 16.6 meters. Why we need that kind of largest part in this space station?
Well, it has to be a large capacity, because the first segment we're launching, the Tianhe, has about 50 cubic meters of capacity, internal capacity. That is like we're buying a house. The bigger the house, the more containable things that you can put in, and more functions that you can put in. So like we're having, in this configuration would be a 3 living room with 3 bedroom with living rooms. So we can have the core part, and this particular sphere, we call it
this part.
Yes, the space port, or you can call it. They connects all the parts together. The manned capsule, the Mengtian and Wentian, as well as the other segments, and also has a top hatch with an airlock that you can facilitate the astronauts to do EVA, extra vehicle activities. So they dress up and they go out into outer space, and using the robotic arms on both sides of the Tianhe so that they can move around and capture the structures and help facilitate the building and construction of the whole station. So once completed, also with the cargo ship, it has a large capacity and a big length, so that the astronaut can move around inside and also move the cargoes and do all the scientific experiments. And also with external platform on the other side, you can also deploy small satellites and do some what we call exposed experiments, so that exposed to the space environment with vacuum conditions and thermal conditions and cosmic ray conditions.
So, Mr. Xu, I got a question. This is because following Russia's salute and also the space lab of the NASA, and also there is an ISS, International Space Station, the largest cooperative construction built by the human world. Well, this could be the next phase of the space exploration experiment. So, what's the difference between China's first space station with the previous ones?
Yes, the Russians have built the Salute, which is similar to Tianhe 1, and also the Mir station, and they have operated the Mir station for the longest period of time. So Russians have the good experiments and expertise in this area. When the US is doing the lunar explorations, human missions, Russians has been focusing on low Earth orbit activities. And following that, US and Russia, along with other 14 countries, built the International Space Station, which China was not part of it.
It's back in 1980s, right?
Yes, 1980s and 90s, and the construction and operation of the International Space Station is very expensive. The support of the International Space Station is enormous. So it needs a big crew and also big ground facilities to facilitate the telemetry tracking and control from the ground. And also the infrastructures inside the International Space Station is also very big. The future step is to abandon, or let's say put a full stop of the International Space Station by the year 2024.
2024.
Yes.
And by that time, there will be either separation of the space station or commercialization of the space station with no government support from US government and some other governments. So that also calls for commercialization of low Earth orbit facilities. So the Chinese station is due to complete in 2 years, and that is a good timing for a good connection with the International Space Station.
It's a rotation, right?
Yes, once that is done and this is in operation, and we can also invite international partners into the station. In fact, we have already had very extensive international cooperation on the Chinese station. The European astronauts has been training in China, and they learned the emergency rescue in Qingdao, and they had all the exercise done, and also they have been starting learning Chinese at that time.
Okay.
So they'll be working with the Chinese astronauts, I think, very shortly in the Chinese infrastructure.
Well, the recent
That's
news
really
is
good,
about
interesting
from the Russia, because the Russian astronauts that said we'll leave the ISS, the International Space Station, because it is too crowded, and that news is from NPR. From the United States. So as for the China's first space station, how many astronauts could live and work inside the station?
I have the answer for the question.
Okay.
I'm going to ask Mr. Xu the next one. Because I know it's going to support 3 astronauts at the same time and live for 6 months at most. So why we need so much time, and why they could live in that space station for 6 months?
So the station is built and with the consideration of sustained permanent mission human presence. So that will requires human attendance to a number of facilities and experiments. Inside the infrastructure or the station, you have microgravity testings, space combustion testings, protein crystallizations, and fluid dynamic studies, and many other microgravity environment studies that you need human attendance. For example, you're growing some vegetables and fruits, or even some vegetations. that is for maybe sustained
Yes.
long journeys. If human want to be
We're
interplanetary
going to
species.
see at
We're
a
going
later
to see
time.
later.
So you need a lot of people attention to this
Take care of
to
it.
take care of it, and
Yes.
also to control the station. So it's minimum of 3 persons can have a sustained stay, but you can facilitate up to 6 or 7 crews because you need to rotate the people. And if you expose one person to this environment for sustained time, there will be biological changes in the body. So you need to always constantly changing the crews. So that is also one part why the station is expensive to maintain.
So at the
Wow,
current
since
time,
we
at
have
the-
talking too much about the model,
Yes.
I really can't wait to see how the model looks inside. Shall we go and take a look of the inside?
yes, before this,
Yes.
one last question I'm
Yeah, sure,
curious
of course.
about is what kind of the energy all the space stations or spacecraft are using right now across the world and any countries, for example, this one.
Oh yes, any spacecraft, once it's in spaceborne conditions, needs to have solar powers. That is why you see all the solar panels. And also we
Is that
have,
Yes, solar
the
panels?
these
solar
are
panels.
solar panels, and these are controlled by a SADA, which is a sun-sensitive mechanism. So the solar array is always pointing to the direction of the sun. So we have to pointing all the solar array to one direction.
To one
So that
direction.
is looking at directly at the sun, so to absorb the solar
Sort of like
energies.
a sunflower.
Yes, and
I
also,
really like sunflower.
like you said, it needs energy. Also, it needs energy to maintain the orbit. So we're using, we call it UDMH, nitrogen tetroxide. These are self-combustion fuels to maintain the orbit of the station. Because if you see the Earth is here, and the distance between the station and Earth is 400 kilometers,
400 kilometers.
and it gradually goes down because of the gravity and the thinner atmosphere drags. So to alleviate and to maintain the 400 kilometers altitude, you need to burn the fuel
Yes.
to push it up. So that is why the cargo, Tianzhou, that we need to fuel this station. So if you
in the
remember,
resort section, right? It's going
yes,
to be on the resort section.
these are with the fuels and with the cargoes inside.
Okay.
So if you remember correctly, last mission Tiangong
Yes.
2, we had this experiment of rendezvous and docking and fueling. So fueling in microgravity environment is also very challenging because the fuel doesn't sink to the bottom of the tank. You have to push the fuel to the station.
I got it.
So that it's a complicated mission. So that we have also achieved these scientific goals and technical missions.
Yes.
So those
the
are
fueling system is very
so the
important.
construction of the station is based on number of small successful missions.
Yes, definitely.
Whoa,
It's
that is
so
why it's
all
separated
about
in separate
the
different
China's
sections.
first space station, which is named the Tiangong, the Heavenly Palace. And after that, we're going to see, as you
Oh,
guys
really
expected,
can't wait to
it's the
see
core
that.
part, the core module is called Tianhe. So let
Yes.
us
The cool
take a look.
module.
Okay.
That's what is behind us, and
Yes.
so like we have Xiao here, and he's going to explain what is it. So what is it in the first? What is it with the huge coverage here?
The
In
three
fact, if you
sections.
see the whole thing, this is Tianhe. Tianhe itself with the external parts and internal parts and fueling parts, as well as the adapters or the spaceport.
Connecting
So
section, right?
connecting section will be able to connect the Wentian and Mengtian
Mengtian.
together on both sides of the arm. On the front side, you have another port to collect the Shenzhou.
Oh, the Shenzhou.
So for the space capsule, and also on the bottom you can connect another one for emergency cases. If you want to, once you have a
So
case,
have
you want
four
to
docking parts of it.
4 docking parts and also 1 airlock on the top. So if the astronaut wants to go outside the station,
Outside the
they can go from there, and then they can move to this part. And these are external panels as well as robotic arms that they can mount the astronauts once they're working, and also they can move the parts around and capture static objects outside the station. So it helps the construction of the station as well as the maintaining of external of the station.
So, Mr. Xu, is there some kind of the equipment on the surface of this the core module? So I'm just wondering about this part. How do you call it? What's the function of this part?
The ball?
This one.
I think these are the external exposed environment, so that you you can expose some of the the experiments, and also there are also a lot of sensors that you have to use to observe the dockings. So the hatches can open and to observe the dockings and rendezvous. And also these are for construction of the station, and you have to look outside because it's like a closed environment. And if you open the hatch, you can see some parts that is ready there, and also observation parts as well as the sensors for the docking and rendezvous and construction of the station.
Cool. So, Mr. Xu, let's get into the model and let's take a look at what it looks like inside.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing a live streaming at China National Science and Technology Museum. We're about to see the inside, the internal part of the Tianhe core module of China's first space station. And let's get coming closer.
Yeah, come here. So, Mr. Xu, as we know, there are going to be 3 parts in the core module, right? The connecting part, and the life support and control part, and of course the resources part. So here, what is it? Tell us.
Oh, well, this looks like the inhabitant areas that the astronauts can strap themselves on the wall, on the floor. They can sleep.
Yes.
And I think these are ready for 3 or 4 astronauts to sleep and to inhabit. And then also they have to use the lavatories and everything. So they have all these facilities, I think, in this area.
They sit here. And what's the belt used for?
Because once you're in space, you're floating and you need to strap yourself. Otherwise, you'll be bumpy when you're sleeping. Yes.
I won't hurt my head.
This is a place for physical exercises?
I don't think this is good enough room. I think once the astronauts are in there, they would be maximizing the usage of these areas. They will put they are all foldable things to do exercise. Once you're in space, you lose your muscle mass, you lose your bone mass, and your cardiovascular issues and diet issues. So there are many things that you need to exercise to kick in the metabolism as well as the muscle build. Indeed. So exercise is very important in outer space. So that is essential part of living, and in addition to sleeping.
Wow. This part
is
like
very fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic.
There's so many machines and buttons here.
And the TV programs that can connect communication with other part of the world and the command center. I got a question. But this part has so many buttons on various devices. This is the command center.
I think there are different sections. The first part would be the command and control center. Now they receive the ground commands, and they study the altitude and the attitude of the spacecraft itself, as well as controlling the spacecraft using fuels to alleviate the altitude and everything. So communication as well as control and TT&C is done in certain part. That is part of the mission as well. So the station grows once you start to build it. So the mass is increasing. So I said this segment is 22.5 metric tons empty.
20.
But once you have the cargo in, it will be 8 metric tons of fuel put in this.
Heavier.
And then you have the Wentian and Mengtian once you're connecting together, as well as the capsule. It will be in configuration of 62 metric tons. So it can also go up with the fuels and cargoes to 150 kilograms. So once you have the change of the mass, you have to control differently. So these are also carefully calculated and automatically controlled. And also,
that's for calculation, control.
I'm sure you can calculate something, but there's a strong ground crew that can also help.
Well, support your machine.
Support you because you're circling the Earth some 96 minutes per revolution. So you're circling the Earth many times, for 20 or 25 times, 14 to 20 times a day. So and also you need to have a constant communication with the ground, so that it requires also a lot of
So
infrastructure.
every second, the
the
situation is going to change, right?
Yes.
It's going to rotate in the Earth. Every
Yes.
second is going to change. And George, I got another question.
Okay.
Will that screen serving as the window of the space station because the astronauts could stay outside?
Yes, like I said, those two, a few spheric shape could be windows that you can look outside. And inside this, because inside this is like the aircraft, you have a thick cabin. Inside this also, there is scientific instruments in between the outer cabin and inside. So this is what we call thicker part, and that section is thinner part.
Thinner part,
Yes.
okay.
So once you have all of this in space, you have to open the small hatches to look to observe. But those are visible observer is not important. Important is the scientific missions. So this will be yeah.
So the astronauts are going to use this part to do some experiments, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm going to use these gloves.
You can have a test because Mr. Xu, we're asking this question while the Tianhe is doing some kind of experiment here.
Yeah, did
so
I do
although
that
people
correctly?
ask you to call this place is the space station like ISS or the Salute or the Space Lab of the United States or the Russia, but we could also have this question is about it is still the spacecraft, but the mission is a little bit complicated with the experiment, all kinds of experiments, just like Diana is doing here.
Yeah.
So they're putting their hands into the space. What is the main purpose of that? Or what kind of activities or experiments astronauts would usually do in the station?
Once you're in microgravity environment, you behave differently. Things and matters also behave differently. For example, some people bring a spider into space and let them to work on spider webs. It could be different shape because the gravity is gone, you take very important element away, and you see different things happen. So these are microgravity experiments you can use for fluid dynamics. For example, if you drink water in space, it's like a sphere of the water that floats around, and you can pass that around as well.
Yes.
So microgravity environment is very hard to come by. So a lot of experiments are using this facility. And also you can see these boxes. Maybe they don't make too much sense, but once you open it, each box has its own autonomous, like a small world.
Okay.
And it works on microgravity environments. And after a period of time, the astronaut will have checked them periodically and make sure that the environment is conducting smoothly.
Yes.
This could be in different domains, in different areas of science. But a lot of these are working in the international station as well. And we are also asking in the international community to, let's say, to nominate and to promote and propose some of the projects.
Yes,
so
Mr.
through international platforms.
Mr. Xu, you reminded me of something because I remember when I watched the film back in 2013, Diana, you know that, Gravity, started by Sandra Bullock. And in that film, Sandra Bullock is playing the role of the doctor. She's a doctor actually, before she became the astronaut. So a lot of people, a lot of the careers, jobs could be selected as the astronaut, right?
Wow.
Yes,
Who can be the astronauts?
Everyone can be an astronaut. I think they have their own specialty. They can always put their specialty into space environment, and it could be quite different. But also, if you mention about the movie Gravity, it is also worth mentioning about space debris. Because the spacecraft was destroyed by space debris, was floating is a very high velocity and very destructive.
Yes.
So once you have human missions, it's different from robotic missions or satellite missions. You have to make sure that the manned missions are safe. The design of the spacecraft has to be able to withstand some small impact.
Yes.
And
it's quite far away from the debris, right?
the debris are all over the place. So we have to modularize all the debris and calculate their orbit to make sure that it doesn't collide with the space debris in other spacecraft. And also for the movie Gravity, the lady was escaped from the Chinese capsule.
You mentioned that several times.
still
Yeah.
going in the movie.
Yes.
I'm sure that it will be a safe spacecraft to come back
another
to
question
Earth.
Right.
here.
That's the
We
one.
take a look at our audiences from around the world through Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and also the China's Weibo and also the Bilibili. They got some questions we want to ask you. The first one is, anyway, is this a really cool space station is going to be exist in the space, and also the great achievement to see it, and also they wonder if they take these spacewalks outside just for fun or for the science experiment.
Will they do so?
Will they do so?
Oh, I think they will
How
do
long
so.
will it take?
But the life here is quite boring.
EVA, they call it EVA. EVA takes a lot of effort and also takes a lot of resource. To dress up an astronaut takes up to 6 hours in their space capsule and spacesuit. And once they're in their spacesuit, the danger of exposing yourself to the outer environment is very dangerous. So for fun, I'm not sure, but for work is for sure. Because there are a lot of jobs that need to be done externally, outside the station. Working internally is just one part of the astronaut's mission. EVA is very important when you construct a station and when you maintain the station to the status where it can function fully. And also to check external damages also very, very important. But working outside the station, you have also dangers of losing your life.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Yes,
We saw in the movie, and you're going to be hit by another piece.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We're going to share with our audiences about the comments on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and,
Yes, what
and also
did they
Weibo. And Abdullah Jibrin said, nice technology product from China. We'd like your experience. And also, Yasuda Guraza Daniel, me from joining International Space Station, and I will build mine from another country in Africa is watching China's model. We might soon adopt and collect your style of the achievement.
Wow, so
Yes.
So this is going to be an international collaboration.
Yes,
And
you're all
we'll
invited to be part of this mission, as we're also working with the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs. So with more than 80 member states, with many African and Asian countries, we're piloting some of the microgravity experiments based on equality and mutual benefits. And also, we certainly hope to invite the international community to join this mission. It is time China do some cool stuff.
Yes, indeed. We need international cooperation.
Yes,
of
Dinah,
course.
and
Yes.
we're moving
Of
towards-
course,
yes.
if we're moving forward, we're going to see the third part of the core module, and it's called resources section. So, please tell us what is especially on this resource section?
Please take good care.
Yes, if you
Very
want to
slowly.
maintain the spacecraft in a certain way, you have to use fuels and other resource.
Well, this is actually the model, and
But
we're
this
moving
is-
inside
this
this
is not the
model
fuel
and
section.
into the small theater.
And you
And
told
they're
me it's
showing
much
the
bigger than the
video
original
clip
one, right?
about the
Yes.
exploration in space.
Wow.
This is a black hole. I saw it in
Magnificent.
the movie.
Not sure.
Yes, it is a black hole image,
Black
and
hole
also
image.
the structure of the black hole. But normally you don't see a black hole. You see
Yes.
the what they call it is a event horizon. So surrounding the black hole, there are some
Okay.
so like cosmic has been sucked in, and
Yes.
lights cannot escape from black hole. So black hole takes in everything, so you can't see it.
Yeah.
You can
Indeed,
just
they
see
take
around it.
everything.
Yeah.
Galaxies. Well, at the current time, we are also standing in the cosmos.
It looks like they were standing on top of the station,
Yes.
and
Wow.
but the view would not be so colorful.
It's going to be more darker, right?
But we will see our planet Earth constantly.
Yes.
So that would be a good view. That you will see the crater of the life, a blue planet, and as well as the moon and the sun.
Yes.
It's going to be very
So
bright.
there's a
how
there's
So
will be
this
the
is
shape
similar
of
to the shape.
Shape of the Earth.
Yeah.
almost the angle from the space station.
Yeah.
Okay, the same size?
You can see the station now.
Oh, that's the
That
station.
one.
Yes.
So in their view,
very
in the
beautiful.
astronauts' view, they are going to be very big or could be very small, and they're in the shape of round one, or what kind
Yeah.
of shape it will be.
It's like the moon. Sometimes it's round, sometimes you see part of the Earth because of the sun and the reflection of the sun.
They are docking.
Yeah. So this is the construction of the station. Yeah.
Triangle station. Yeah, so if we take a look at the screen, you can see the three parts are docking
Yes,
together,
definitely.
and that's the Tianhe.
Yes.
Wow, really looking forward to
Yeah,
that.
they join together with the last one. It's called the Tianzhou, the space capsule.
Cargo
this is,
ship.
The cargo
yeah,
ship.
cargo
whole,
ship.
the
yeah.
cargo ship. This is called the Tiangong.
And you can
Yeah.
also see the solar panels around it.
Yes.
Yes, once it's done, it's more than 60 tons. So it's a big infrastructure in space.
Really, a giant
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
So amazing,
That's the view
and-
we have never seen on the ground.
Yes,
It
sure.
should be in the space. Well, luckily we got inside of the module, and now let's take a look of the outside. And we have so many
Well,
things to
this one?
explore. As I told you earlier, we can see how the
yes.
astronauts are going to live in the space station. Come along with me. So, wow.
Well, so this is the other side of the Tianhe.
Yes,
the
the
core
external
module.
part, yes. Oh, the Tianhe has two parts. One is the thinner part, one is the thicker part. The thicker part with all the experiments, and the yellow part is the fuel part. And you have to put enough fuel to maintain the orbit, and the engines and everything has to be there. And these are handles that the astronaut can use once they're conducting EVA.
Okay.
So they have to, because of the microgravity environment, they're floating around. They need to mount themselves somewhere.
Something is,
So they're gonna
otherwise it
hold
would be
this
really
one, right?
dangerous.
Yes, so their foot can be mounted on the robotic arm. So they're always standing somewhere, and the arms can move around. So their own hands can be
gonna hold
using the
different
handles.
sticks,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
But
That's
when I watched the film and in the gravity, the astronaut, they have wearing a very thick, very big glove, and
Glove,
it's so
yes.
difficult to hold on to the
I
edge.
totally agree.
Yes,
That's
it can be
the
very
problem.
clumsy in space. So they are doing a lot of trainings in microgravity environment. The best way to simulate an astronaut's microgravity would be in a water tank or swimming pool. So you sink the people into the swimming pool. It's like a microgravity environment, and they will do all these trainings of handling things and working on tools. So that is why the astronauts always end up, once they retire, they like diving. So they're all divers. They go to all the exotic places to dive. And I know a few astronauts, they just like
They
diving.
won't come
This
back
is
with a
really
memory in the
very,
space.
very
Yes.
almost the same environment.
Yes.
And
So,
besides,
Mr.
yes,
I got something more interesting here to show you our audiences,
Space
which
toilet.
interests me the most. Because when I first got into this area and found this, it's called the space restroom. So what are the difference for the space restroom and with our ordinary one? If I
definitely it's
open
part
this
of the
door,
space station in the future.
and we can take a look at the space restroom.
Yeah.
And so, Mr. Xu, tell us, what is the difference?
Well, there's a huge difference. I think these are
Interesting.
the latest generations. Previous one using vacuums to clean because the microgravity. You don't dump to dump. So you suck to dump. So also for collecting the urines and others, you need a special facility to do that. So this is why you need a space toilet.
Would the urine be stored inside the space station or
Well,
just
that's a good
cast into the
question.
space?
Yeah.
It won't be cast into space because, as I mentioned, there are many space debris already, and we don't need to have further troubles. It will be put in the cargo ship,
Yes.
Tianzhou. So the cargo ship is what we call expendable cargo ship. So once it's coming back to Earth, it will be fragmented and disintegrated, and once entering the atmosphere, it will be burned out. So the waste and other unused stuff will be put in that cargo ship and will be disconnected from station and burned up in outer space.
So that's
this is a
important
part-
to not leave any waste in the
Yes.
space.
So it could be still in the air.
So this is a part of the life of the astronauts in the space station.
Yeah,
So what about
the main one.
the main function? Because ultimately they're doing experiments, a space experiment like the space breeding, other experiments. For example, into this one, the
Yes,
aerospace
we're
homeland,
entering the
we see
aerospace
some kind of the
homeland.
space labs for growing vegetables. Tell us something about that.
Yes, we do what we call it as recyclable as possible to recycle the water, the air. We need oxygen, and we also produce carbon dioxide. And also we metabolize ourselves. Sometimes we create waste. So all of these can be a organic fuel, if you call it. Organic fuel that you can generate new vegetations and vegetables. You grow vegetables, and to create a small biological environment inside the station so that you can have a more sustained life. For example, if you bring just certain amount of fuel and food and oxygen into atmosphere, into a station, you can live just for so long. But if you kick in a biosystem, it can sustain you longer. For example, if you grow vegetables, you use use the carbon dioxide and use some of the biological fuels, if you call it, to create edible things. And that can also have a longer period of time for you to sustain in space. This is very important for interstellar or interplanetary travel.
Yes.
So for example, if humans want to achieve a Mars landing mission, you need to travel at least 6 months.
6 months.
In that time, you have to consume a lot of oxygen.
Yes.
But if you grow something in outer space, you can have fresh vegetables and everything. That will be very helpful.
That
Yes.
oxygen by themselves.
Yes.
And also create,
humans.
yes.
I
So,
got some questions for you both. China,
Yes.
if you were introduced space station or the space travel,
Yes.
what kind of the vegetables do you want most?
Well, I guess I need water the most. This is why I like tomato very much. When I saw the tomato, I'm going to be very glad. But I don't know which one is very important for astronauts. For them, which part is very important? Which kind of vegetable is very important for them?
but
From your perspective.
yes, I think the easiest thing to grow is lettuce. I think it takes just 22 days or something.
We see that
Yes.
over there.
Some of the easy grow vegetables are essential for this mission. And if you want to sustain a longer time, and you need to grow more varieties. Vegetables is one part, and also you have proteins, and also you need sugars and other sources. So vegetable is just one way of maintaining the environment, and
Yes.
also you need to other sources.
Yes, but
Mr. Xu, I got another question. For many space missions, we brought seeds and plants into the space. And why we brought seeds into the space? Why that matters? That kind of question I think about long time.
Yes, it's also a long time program. About I think 30 years ago, we have started this mission called Space Seeding Project, and we exposed the seeds to microgravity environment and cosmic ray environment, so that these seeds can expose themselves to space environment, and then
But
after.
why that matters?
Because once you're exposed to that environment, the genetic character will change.
will change.
So sometimes you have a better harvest. So
Really?
yes, we did that, and also we successfully harvested many things like green peppers and pumpkins. Those when we brought back has a better harvest.
So
Well,
next
that's
question.
benefit
So
to human
we in the
health.
micro
Because what
gravity.
preserving you.
Yes.
So what kind of impact will that bring to humans' health if we eat that kind of vegetables?
I think
take that.
I think that needs to be further studied. It's like
Yes.
genetically altered things, but it's done naturally. It's not done humanly. So we're not playing God, and it's still part of the nature. So we're selecting all of those, and we have not seen negative parts or negative effects from those space seeding projects.
So since you said because of the microgravity environments, all kind of the genetic changes would already happen in all these vegetables. For example, like this tomato, would it be like this in your space station? Would it be like so blossoming, just like the flowers or something else? I don't know.
I have no idea, because tomatoes in space, I haven't seen it. It could be different. I have no idea why, how they would behave and look like. And space environment, microgravity is one thing. It doesn't affect the vegetation too much, but the cosmic ray and the radiation is more important to genetic changes and alters.
And Yiming, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Do you dare to eat one of the tomatoes here? Are you going to try it?
Yes, I want to try it, but it's completely sealed.
I'm just kidding.
no.
Stop doing that. He said you do not taste it. And
Yes,
because
it's
really,
for exhibit.
yeah, just for exhibition.
Yes, another one is this is KG from the Facebook. Is it said the world can be united in science
Yes.
and the arts. Please, that's very good comment. And also, this KB said, I still wanted to be an astronaut when I was young.
Wow. So what did he do later?
I think this is going to be the dream of everybody. So
think so.
after this, we could go to the food court to
Yes.
try the space food like
Yes.
you mentioned.
Besides the tomato, there indeed is something we can have a try. That is astronauts' food. So come along with us. We can
Yes.
see some astronauts' foods with you.
And we got the friend, Mr. Cui Zhe,
Yes.
an exhibition designer here,
Designer,
and
yeah.
we're going to meet her.
We're going to introduce that for us.
Okay. So please introduce to our audience.
Hello, Seja. Really looking forward to this part. Hello. So say hi to our audience.
Hello everyone.
这位是崔哲老师 ，He's the designer of the exhibition. So 他是这个整个展览的策展人。So today now we are going to have a try of the food and as well as the plants in the space. So just tell us what do you have for us?
这个地方是展现的就是航天员生活上面的一些食品。其实航天员的食品，哦，
So I'll hold it for this. To introduce
Let me do
to all
so.
of
Let me
us.
do so. Thank you
This
so
is
much.
really
indeed.
bountiful food.
Or maybe we can have seats here.
Quick,
Come
take a
on.
seat,
Come
please.
along with us and joining us. We have 4 seats here, and of course we have a good have a try.
Have a seat.
Mr. Sir, please.
Take a seat, please.
Yeah, enjoy
Okay.
your food. So you must have so many times you have tried this.
I've
kind
never
of-
tried this.
Really? You're an expert in the area.
I've always been on the ground.
So
So please introduce the
So this is the food pack.
yeah, that's the food pad.
Yeah.
我就用中文了。
No problem.
其实现在就是航天员，中国的航天员的食品的种类还是非常丰富的。这里是做了一个样
There are
品。
bountiful foods. Just to go ahead, I'll
we can
translate
see
that
this
for
is the
you.
menu
The
for the
bountiful
astronauts.
foods for the Chinese astronauts.
It's lunch, dinner, and they have really different kind of foods.
对，这里只是一部分。其实我们现在的航天员可以根据他自身的口味，在上天之前来定制他的口味。比如说你喜欢吃川菜，他就
If
会
I'm from Sichuan province, they're gonna have a spicy one, right? Wow.
Yes.
Mm.
Before they go into the space, they can have their own
No, just
selection.
a personal taste, I think.
But why they can do so? Why we achieve that goal? We can.
But all the food are sealed and packed, so you can prepare it before launch. So
I got a question. So when I was a little kid, I usually heard the news, the report that astronaut in space station
Yeah.
they would eat food like the toothpaste.
Yeah.
But
they only
this is very
biscuits and
different.
so on. It's
Do-
quite
are,
different.
are they the real space food?
对，这些是真正的航天员在天上的食品，所以它的食用方式也会是这个比较特殊一些。比如这是它的饮用水。
That's for food people, and the chocolate
this is
for
the
food
drinking
people.
water for the astronauts in a space station. So
that's awesome.
how should we use that?
它就是打开了之后，它基本上是那种类似于我们可以理解为牙膏，食品都是牙膏。
Still toothpaste.
对
As you mentioned
Like the old
earlier.
time.
对，然后饮用水呢，这是一个这个包装，然后它是通过这个吸管来进行直接饮用的。然后其实还有一种类似于像一个这种小球一样的包装一样的，然后直接吞进去那种。
Well, so there are 2 ways. The first one is still like the toothpaste and drinking the water through this straw. And the other one is pack the food into a little ball and just eat it.
It's like
there's
medicine.
many forms.
Can we have a try? Please show us.
这种可
You
以。
prepare something for us, and indeed I can have a try. So tell me that.
这种呢，就是我们在市场上根据这个，其实航天食品跟地面上的食品在成分上是没有什么区分的，只是使用的方式不一样。所以呢，这个是我们市场化的包装，各位可以
It's
尝
really
试一下。
beautiful.
对，尝试一下
Blue。
这
purple
是
package.
这是牛肉，
Well, this is a beef.
But that's not sheep outside.
对，这是这是奶
You
酪
told
啊
me，earlier. I really
对
pay attention to
Oh,
that.
this is a cheese.
对，这是奶酪，
May I
大家可以
open it?
尝尝。这边是牛肉，
This
其实我们这边还有一个小包装
Yeah, I like
是太空的冰淇淋，是常温的冰淇淋。
Have a try.
There are
Okay.
several ones: the cheese and the space cheese
The
and
cheese for
beef, and
astronauts.
also the ice cream.
Wow.
It's sort of
So
very
please have-
lightweight. It's
Yeah.
just like
Okay, let me have a-
dried,
have a try.
very lightweight. Yeah.
So that's indeed, we specifically
crispy.
make that very dry and very light.
Very
It's
delicious.
easy to carry,
大家
right?
可以尝尝，
Yes,
这是冰淇淋，冰淇淋它是常温的
嗯，
它是常温的，但是口感和味道跟我们的冰淇淋是一样，只是它不是
Well,
常的。
So I
well,
really need
this
to
is
laugh here.
this is ice cream at a normal temperature. It's not a frozen.
Vanilla or chocolate?
Vanilla。
Vanilla.
Diana, tell us what's the taste.
I didn't have too much here. Oh, it's a space ice cream. It's really now it looks like an ice cream. Okay, let me have a try. It's very hot.
Unlike ice cream.
Really, actually,
Oh,
yesterday I
But the
just
taste is
tasted once.
very nice. It's indeed vanilla.
对，口感上和味道上跟我们的冰淇淋是一样的，大家可以理解为这是太空中的哈根达斯。
It's not really like very cold. It's like normal temperature.
对，
Well, this is said that the taste and the
That's so
flavor just like the ordinary ice cream on Earth, but
Yes.
they're not the frozen one. But they taste the same almost.
对。
Wow,
That's
that's so interesting. So you can see astronauts could have an ice cream in the space, but although it's really, not really taste look like it's ice cream on the ground, but at least you have kind of flavor. Wow, cool. So I have the space cheese, space ice cream. Something
Space
else?
beef and space water.
其实我们的种类很这个还有面包、饼
Well,
干、
this is the bread and the cookies.
面包，这
This
是
this is the bread.
This is bread.
Feels like the bread. Yes.
Feels like the bread.
航天员的食品一般就是都是脱水的和这个冷冻冷藏的，因为他们在太空中来食用，所以呢都是这种真空和压缩包装的。这是猪肉，
So
这是巧克力，
Oh, this is
巧
chocolate.
克力，这是榛子的巧克力。
So it's all dehydrated and packed with vacuums, and to also to minimize the weight. So when you take off, every kilo matters.
So, Mr.
But
Xu,
you
you
told
got
me
some
earlier
experiences
that-
in this field. Usually, when people eat this food, what kind of things should we take into mind to protect ourselves? Because it's a zero gravity environment.
Well, the zero gravity sometimes it cause nauseous and biological changes into the body. So you have to take. On the ground, we call it very light food. It's not heavy, not greasy or oily food, and also drink a lot of waters, and so that will help the metabolism. And also the amount of calories you take in is also very important. You don't take you don't overeat in space, and you calculate very carefully the calories required.
But you told me earlier that astronauts shouldn't eat too much in the space. 你之前告诉我说宇航员不能吃的 Why is it?
对，因为首先太空中所有的重量啊，都是从发射成本上都是很贵的。对，所以呢，首先物质守恒，所以我们吃进去了多少东西，我们也会排泄出多少东西。
Yes, these food is really precious. Every time they send these food into space, they need to consider the cost.
每一克的这个营养和能量都应该是来维持航天员必要的生存，所以不应该浪费。所以我们每天航天员的食物也是定时定量的，所以它有自己的菜单。
Yeah, but I saw the menu here. We have the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So they also have written into 3 parts, right? So that's how ordinary people on the ground.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
But as you can see, that's very interesting. It really looks like this on this ground because we have porridge here, and we
Yes.
have vegetables here, and noodles, rice.
所以我们相信中国的航天员在饮食这个方面应该是比西方国家的航天员要幸福很多的。
I guess so. And also
Totally agree.
another comment from Vincent here. I hope to see the astronauts eat vegetables those grow in space themselves. That's really
will they do
sweet.
so?
Yeah, they will do
they
so.
do so?
I think the vegetable is one part of the mission, and it's not a mass-produced vegetables, but I'm sure that once produced vegetables can be edible, and they can also consume in space.
Wow, that's cool. We're going to see that thing in the future, maybe. And Jill, that's the things you prepared for us. So that's the plants, right?
对，这是
Explain to us.
对
刚才大家从这个太空的育种这边这个展区过来
Crazy，
这是一些区别于那些食用的番茄之外的一些观赏性的太空植物。这位是这个土豆的芽，土豆苗，对，土豆苗。
Okay.
您拿的这个应该是枫叶，
Yeah.
对，
It's maple.
对，马布。
So what I take is a pineapple.
对对，这是一个
And-
菠萝的一个小的芽。
They're growing in a special soil. As it does not look like soil.
这不是那个蚝油，这是那种凝胶，一种营养
It's
的
a gel. It's a nutritious gel.
Nutrition
对
based. Yeah.
对。
Wow, that's cool. But why they're so small? Because they
这
storage
是
in the
首先它有的是经过特殊的育种实验，包括我们其实早期的那个圣女果、小番茄也是经过类似于太空育种，所以定向选择的一些比较小型的。我们其实原来有那种比较很小的玫瑰花，只
Oh,
有
looking forward to that.
只有手指那么大的一个玫瑰花。
Even roses.
对
Could
太
be
空的
a
玫瑰，我们所以展区的时候
space rose.
So you get to
Really-
pose in
really
space.
micro and tiny and lovely and cute.
对，
I'm
所以很多
wondering what the rose garden would look like.
所以小王子的里边那个情节是
Yes,
真
it
的。
comes true. The
对
little plants, well, it's coming to true. Amazing.
Okay, well,
大家其实有空可以看看我们这个
Of
展
course.
区里面一个表演项目。
Oh yes.
这个不是航天员的生活的全部啊。
this is
That's
not
the
a.
normal life. That's
This is
the
not the
astronaut's life.
for the space astronauts. This is for the demonstration
So show us.
part.
What is going to
The
be-
robot
Wow.
making coffee.
It seems that he's making coffee for us. It's a lady or a gentleman.
Lady or gentleman.
我
So
相
we
信
should call it he or she or it.
我相信这种工作应该是男士来做。
Ah.
So usually gentlemen would do that. So this robot, perhaps is a gentleman.
对，
Do you have a name for it?
从这里飞向太空。
Oh, this is it.
Next to space.
Oh, amazing translation.
So how long does it take to make a coffee? The cup of coffee?
1分钟左右的时间
1 minute.
啊。
Just 1 minute to finish the cooking, making the coffee. I think the
Will astronauts having coffee in the space?
Yes, they have quick coffees. I think,
Like two space.
I'm not sure about the Chinese astronauts whether they like coffees or tea, but they will have their beverage.
So
Yes,
like
they can
two
make.
space.
Yeah, no, they have their own facility to make coffee and tea. Yes,
Cool.
or they have like instant coffee.
instant coffee,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
just
Just
still like
put
the
the-
bottled
yeah,
coffee and
yeah.
just drink through that.
Yeah.
For their leisure time at least, right?
Yes.
So the mission time is very tough and they need some time to relax.
Diana,
They-
you can taste it coffee
Wow.
made by a very gentle
I'd love to.
gentleman
Next.
robot.
Cool. I'd love to. And it smells good. Wow, it's really very small.
Handmade coffee.
咖啡豆应该也是从太空育种的品种咖啡豆。
Oh.
So the
The soybean.
soybean,
was brought from
the
space.
coffee bean, so it was
Oh,
breeded
did you hear that?
in space. It's a very special kind.
So did we brought the soybeans very early time to the space, like as part
Yes,
of
I
seeding?
think this space seeding program has been in activity once we had the returnable capsule. And so we use that return capsule to do space seeding projects and bring back a lot of seeds. This including agricultural seeds and other side products. We have been, like Professor mentioned, the small potatoes as part of the space seeding project, and we choose the smaller ones. Others we choose bigger ones. We always like bigger pumpkins and
So what would the taste of this coffee taste like? Is this a normal one, just like the ordinary coffee we drink?
I will tell you
其实
later.
对对，戴安娜等会儿可以告诉大家。其实从我的感觉来说的话，应该带了太空的味道。
This is a little special with a
space
flavor
taste.
of the space.
Oh my god! Can't imagine that.
I can't wait to taste that.
Indeed. So do we have a little cup
Almost done.
here? I love to share with all of us here because I think it's with
Okay.
space taste. May we have a, yeah, the small one will be fine.
做起来比较慢，不过大家说的。
At least each one can take a sip.
In fact, the station also, the International Space Station, do have a robotic person on board the mission.
Yes.
So the robot can also do a lot of things in the station. So I'm not excluding the possibility of having a Chinese robot on board the Chinese mission. So it could be happening in the future. But right now is the construction of the station itself. Once it's done, many applications can follow.
Oh.
At least he or she could make tea or coffee for our astronauts.
Yes,
Yeah.
Diana is just preparing the coffee for us. And
that?
now I'd like to share some kind of comments from the Facebook, YouTube, and Weibo. And Jimingang, I guess this person is from the Korea, and they say, are they juicy and what? And he's mentioned about the vegetables and tomato and
Gotcha.
grown in space.
Thank
And
you.
in Nico's G, how do you make Sichuan pepper chicken into jelly?
That's a good
That could
question.
be possible. And
Everybody think about
yes, and the Han Kansu said this is not a food court. Yes, this is a food court for sharing the conceptual space
Yes,
food and also
space.
the real space food.
that. Indeed. You
Yes.
want to have a try?
Yeah, thank you very
Yeah.
much.
So everyone, let's have a try.
Wow.
The coffee with space taste. Wow. It's quite sore for me.
I tasted the flavor, the taste of the summer.
I really need some sugar, I guess.
Very good.
But it do smells very good. Wow, cool. So currently the astronauts living have been improved
It's pretty good.
much
Yeah.
in our daily life, right?
So that's the tour in this food court. Thank you so much, Mr. Tujo, the exhibition designer here in China Science and Technology Museum. Thank you. Okay.
Hope to see you next time.
See you next time.
So if we come this way, we're going to see more in this area. And this part called the future tunnel. So what we can see here, Yibing?
Yes. If we get through this future tunnel, we'll get to the start of this mission because this is an exhibition showing the whole complete experience of China's manned space exploration. Mr. Xu,
Yes.
follow us. Okay.
So as you can see, white changes color, and when we enter it, it's changing into blue.
The next one, we're going to enter the section showing some real. This is not an
Wow.
artifact. This is a real thing
The
about the
history of our
manned spaceship of China. Directly in that direction. This is
Yes.
spacesuit.
Well, and this area is showing our history about the space exploration. As we see, there's so many people who have devoted themselves into this career, right?
Yeah, space programs and all the experts
Yes.
in space.
So before we conclude this live streaming, we're going to see some kind of the training facilities for the space station and also
Sure.
the spacesuit. There's
let's
a
leave the
boy
children
is
for children
taking
to
photos
get
here
photos
for
there.
this spacesuit.
And let's take a look at the training area. So, sorry for disturbing you. So this area is where astronauts doing training here, and they do lots of special training. And for example, this one is going to rolling you in different directions. So, Mr. Xu, why the astronauts need that kind of training?
The astronauts, once in the space environment, will deorient sometimes, and they can't find directions. And also, during the launching and re-entry, the astronauts will experience what we call it multiple gravities, like 12 Gs or below. So once you're up to 12 Gs, sometimes it's very dangerous for the astronauts to land. So these experiments needs to maintain the astronauts in a condition that they can still fly the capsule and they can fly the spaceship while maintain their health. So this is one part of the training to let the astronauts experience gravity changes.
Gotcha. And this part is called relocation your blood. That sounds really, well, strange. Why we need to relocate our blood?
Oh, yes. Once you're in space environment, it's microgravity. Microgravity sometimes cause the blood to flow. If you have gravity, the blood will be on the foot. So once in microgravity environment, the blood will come to your head. So it will be like rushing all the way to your head, like similar to hypertension. So you need to do some bed rest testings. This bed rest testing is not horizontal. It's 6 degrees tilted, so your foot is up.
Okay.
So your foot is up and 6 degrees half a year without movement. So sometimes you lose a lot of muscles,
yes.
bone mass, cardiovascular is different conditions, and your foot is numb, and that is the condition the astronaut experience in space environment. So it's very harsh. So on the bed you can experience that, and for sustained journeys you have to use this to see the human body changes and to adopt that and use the medicines and many other physical forms.
So there's indeed some sacrifices.
Yes, there are other facilities, but one thing draws me attention because this is selection psychologically on the astronauts. This is really important because staying for a long time in space, in lonely environment, it was really harsh for people. So, do you know any standards set for people here? And what kind of tests they're going to receive?
Well, I think shrinks are same everywhere. So you have to able to sustain long loneliness and also self-discipline and conducting all the routines on the basis of loneliness. If you see the movie Martian, you know that one person in one planet, it can change all, psychologically. So sometimes we need a shrink in outer space.
Luckily, our
Yes.
he could have two partners, right?
Yes, but fortunately in the international or Chinese station, you can always communicate with the ground crew, and also you have a Wi-Fi device, and you can use that.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, Wi-Fi on board
maybe.
in space, so that would not keep you from loneliness.
Yes. Another comment from the Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter is Elizabeth G said, "This is a great job reporting, guys, and your guide was wonderful. Thank you so much. And we really enjoyed this coverage."
Wow,
and one
thank
last
you.
thing, this is about the space suit because it's really expensive. How much does it cost? Just have a little guess. Let us come closer. I want Mr. Xu to explain to us.
Yeah, there's space suits have different forms. They have space flight suits and EVA suits, and also all of these suits are different price, as you mentioned, and also different functions. For space flight, you have as much lightweight as possible, but the spacesuit has many layers, the layers to maintain the temperature, the layers to provide oxygens, layer to maintain heat balance, and also radiations, and also maintain the movement of your arm and leg. So spacesuit is also evolving all the time. You can also see SpaceX. They have very sophisticated spacesuit, very lightweight and very smart, and also not so clumsy. And also, but those are for space flight. But if you want to conduct EVA, for example, that one, you need to have a whole pack of life support system.
Well, this is really just this model showing the real thing.
Very complicated.
Yes, it's really
Yes,
complicated.
and also if you think about the Apollo missions, those astronauts that has landed on the surface of the moon, you have also a big pack of life support system to provide oxygen, to clean up your breathing system, and to make sure that it doesn't foggy, and also maintain yourself from the environment and maintain yourself the functionalities, and be able to come back safely. As well as the lunar surface, for example, they have many dust and big friction, because those dusts are very small but very sharp. So that can damage your spacesuit. So there are many ways of, for example, clean up the suit by using static electricities or by using other vacuum forms. And also external suits are mounted on the outside of the vehicle or the station. So you can have easy dressing up, because the spacesuit has many layers, and dressing up for EVA activity will take a long time.
Yes.
Even I guess choose words answers our question why the seat is so expensive.
So expensive.
And
How
they
about
told
how
me-
much does it cost? We
Yeah,
raised the
it
question
costs
to all the
nearly-
audiences in
leave us
front of
messages.
here. So
You may leave us messages and our Weibo and WeChat, of course,
Yes.
or live streaming in the Facebook, and tell us how you guess how much is it for this seat, and we will give you the right answer later.
later. Okay. So this concludes our introduction to the Tianhe core model of China's first space station today, and we're really honored to have the Mr.
Yes,
Xu Yansong,
indeed.
Director
Thank you.
General of the Asia Pacific Space Cooperation Organization, to introduce so many knowledge, experiences to us.
We have a knowledge about how the astronauts living in the space station and how will China's space station mission conducted in the future. So that's really a fruitful day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you very much.
so nice to be with you. And it's time to go do some cool stuff together.
Yes. So in the coming days, the CGTN will bring more coverage on the Tianhe core modules launch, and as well as other manned space missions in the future. So please stay tuned.
Stay with
Okay,
us.
stay with
and
us.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.